before game day. Good morning to you. That is if you were watching the morning drip in the morning. So we're obviously going to take a look a little bit at what Northwestern presents. It is obviously I'm not going to say it's a big game for Michigan, but it's a game in which Michigan needs to come out and it needs to continue to instill confidence in itself. I think coming out of that Nebraska game, I think the most important thing is trying to go in and reasserting yourself defensively. Certainly, this is an offense that Michigan should be able to take advantage of, but there still are some challenges. There's three receivers that are really good for Northwestern. You have Ryan Helinski, who's not grading out well when it comes to the Pro Football Focus grading, but he's still throwing 250-some yards, at least the last two games. The first two games he was in, granted, he split time with Hunter Johnson in his week 3 appearance. Week 4, a little bit different. I think I have those weeks right. They still really weren't doing a heck of a lot throwing the ball. But the last 2 weeks, certainly, Ryan Helinski has shown he can find targets downfield. Now, aside from that, Evan Hull is going to present a big challenge. But even though he is one of the leading rushers in the Big Ten, you keep in mind that Michigan has 2 guys that are right around him. He's in between Blake Corum and Hassan Haskins. So if you can stop the one guy, you can essentially stall the offense, make them one-dimensional, which is, I think, what you want to do. I think going into a game like this as well, considering that we've seen Michigan being able to stop the run. It did a really good job when it was playing against, and never mind my Star Wars hello there text tone there. But when you've seen going up against like Wisconsin, right? Wisconsin didn't have a ton of success running the ball per se, nor did Washington. But they did. Well, Wisconsin didn't have success throwing the ball, but Washington did, at least eventually. You're going to need to be able to shore things up. This is an opportunity for your defense to get the confidence that it can shore things up before going up against Michigan State this next week, because Michigan State certainly can do both. It can throw the ball and it can run the ball. The other side of the ball, Michigan's offense, I think this is an opportunity to do kind of what it's been doing for a while, right? It can continue to run the ball with kind of impunity and pass the ball when it wants to. That's certainly what we've seen Northwestern give up. Northwestern gives up about 200 yards in the air and 200 yards on the ground on a game-by-game basis. So Michigan, I think it's a question of what does Michigan want to do. Does it want to try to get the pass game feeling a little bit more comfortable, just throwing downfield, get some rhythm going between Cade McNamara and some of those receivers, or does it just want to just try to escape by doing what it does all the time? Apologies, I can't talk apparently this morning. So, I mean, there's a lot of things to question. A lot of things that could work in Michigan's favor in this game. This game shouldn't be close, but don't be surprised if it is somewhat close. If it isn't like how Northwestern played Nebraska where it lost 56-7. Don't be surprised if this is like a 38-17 type game. I don't remember what I predicted. I did predict that I know the spread was 23.5. I predicted a 24-point win. But nonetheless, I wouldn't be surprised if it was a little bit closer. Northwestern has been playing better as of late than it was earlier in the season. I know you can sit there and look and say, well, who has it played? You know, that certainly could be part of it. It didn't play well at all against a bad Duke team. It's got its wins over Rutgers. It was, I think, a little bit more convincing in its win over Rutgers ultimately than Michigan was. Different kind of games, though. It was close. They pulled away, whereas Michigan wasn't close at all in the first half, and then it was Rutgers kind of came back and Michigan did nothing. So this is an opportunity to go in and dominate if you're Michigan. But if you don't, then at least you live and fight another day, because certainly this game has trap game written all over it. I had Maryland as that trap game. I had Maryland as a loss before the season because I was buying what the Terrapins were selling early. And I thought going in between, being sandwiched in between Penn State and Ohio State, that was going to be a trouble area. Unfortunately, for Maryland, no defense, and offense hasn't done as well against some of the better teams. So this one starts to be closer to a trap game. It's probably not as much as Indiana, which Indiana's shown a lot more life. in the recent weeks, and that's going to be sandwiched in between Michigan State and Penn State. But still, anytime you're getting ready to face a rival, you know the big showdown that is about to hit you in just a matter of days here. If Michigan handles business, of course, it's two top 10 teams playing against each other. It's a big noon kickoff. All of those things. You have to remember if you're Michigan, and I'm sure they do. I've asked them this incessantly throughout the week. How do you focus on this game, knowing that you have the next game? And they said, we're not talking about Michigan State. We're talking about Northwestern. But certainly, with Pat Fitzgerald saying that he feels that this Michigan team is the best that the Wildcats will have faced all year, the focus certainly is on them to be able to come in and do something in Ann Arbor. Last time they were in town didn't go so well. What was it, 38-0 or 31-0, something like that? Nonetheless, I'm still saying this is a good Northwestern team, not a great Northwestern team, and it's actually, I'm not going to say it's a good Northwestern team. I don't even know what I'm saying. Not a good Northwestern team, but it's an improving Northwestern team. So it's incumbent upon Michigan to figure out what it wants to do, how it wants to do it, and continue to implement it. Because, again, I've said this a couple times already, Michigan has dominated all but two halves this entire season. Not just did good, dominated. So it's time for Michigan to do the same thing. Again, you're going to get Northwestern's best shot. Now that you're 6-0, you're going to get everyone's best shot. Certainly, next week, you're going to get a Michigan State team that is super hungry to really claim that it is dominant and get that win. But it all starts this week, and it all starts with Northwestern. So we'll see what Michigan does. Again, I know I don't have my final score prediction handy. Let's say 38-14 again. I think that's probably what I had anyway. 24-point win. If does the math sound right? Yeah, it does sound right. I'm not here for math, folks. Anyway, all right. We will talk to you after the game. We'll be back next week, all 5 days, I promise you, as we preview the Michigan State game. It is that type of game. So we'll talk to you then.